YB stays on your neck.
Listen, I've always said it. AJ wasn't really there. I remember reading a thing about him up on the internet a week before the fight, and AJ was saying, it was in an interview, and he was like, for this camp, I feel really tired, I feel fucked. And he said that he got in a sports psychologist for the first time. For the first time in his boxing career, he got a psychologist for that fight, for the first time. So, and I remember reading that, and I was like, I was like, wow, this guy's actually finding this camp hard, and he's employing all these people. You know, he's got a massive team. He's employing this person, employing that person to make his life easier because he's finding it hard. He's finding camp hard. I'm not sure what was wrong with him, but something was wrong. You can see it on the ring entrance. You can see as he's walking into the ring. For one, the ring entrance was late because I'm not sure what happened backstage, but a lot of rumors saying that something happened backstage. I truly believe so. And then during the ring walk,
like, it was something to do with his groin guard, Eddie Hearn said. But
yeah,
you know, I'm just saying what he said.
Something. You know, they all say stuff. They lied and said that fucking I meant some tweet up about Liverpool, and they threw me under the bus because of a tweet. These people, they all chat some bullshit. Something happened backstage, and just being honest, that's why I think. Listen, not taking a dig at Eddie Hearn. I love Eddie Hearn. I like Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn's a cool guy. I got no issue with him. But after the fight, why AJ's dad got so angry at Eddie Hearn and he made a, you know, and he tried to, you know, everyone knows what happened after the fight. AJ's dad was mad at Eddie Hearn. Something happened backstage. Something happened backstage. You can see in the ring entrance, AJ, his face wasn't right as he got into the ring. Something wasn't right about him. Something wasn't right about him. And only when you watch the fight back and you look at how he's acted on the ring entrance in his other fights to now this fight, you can see that something just wasn't right. And he weren't late because of his grain guard. AJ's a smart man. AJ's got 3 or 4 different grain guards. If he loses one, AJ's got another 2 or 3. I know AJ. AJ's a smart man, and he's always got a backup of everything. So listen, AJ can say, Eddie Hearn can say what he wants because he's got a, you know, maybe he can't say certain stuff because the boxing board might find out and blah blah blah. But every boxing fan and everyone that knows boxing knows something happened backstage that we're not aware of. That maybe if Eddie Hearn says, he would get in trouble with the boxing board, or AJ might get in trouble with the boxing board. So they have to keep certain things suppressed. But
yo, my dons, make sure you hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and obviously hit the bell for notifications. So we just heard there from one of Anthony Joshua's former training partners, Ohara Davies. Now, every time I've got a little bit of confirmation about this whole conspiracy theories, it gets me gassed because most AJ haters have been in my comment section saying, alright, YB is sucking AJ off. Oh, YB, suck Ruiz off YB because that was the best AJ I've ever seen. Yeah, AJ's never looked so light on his feet before. That was the best AJ. Give Ruiz credit. Suck Ruiz off YB because that was an amazing performance by AJ. Ruiz was just a better man that night. AJ was 11 out of 10. AJ was 10 out of 10. Ruiz was just a better guy. That's what they've been saying, but what I find hard, what I'm struggling with here is, why have we got professional fighters who have fought at British level, world level? Why is Dylan White a rival? Dylan White would have loved to be able to say, hey, I told you, like, AJ was crap. Yeah? AJ got lucky that I didn't get to him first. Otherwise, he'd have been leaving the ring unconscious. Dylan White weren't saying that. Dylan White's been in there with AJ, by the way. So if anyone's going to know, it's Dylan White, world level fighter, saying, wait there, what's going on? That weren't the right AJ there, something weren't right. But people want to come to my channel and tell the YB. They want to come to the YB's channel and chat pure rubbish about, YB, you don't know boxing. You don't know boxing if you couldn't see AJ was fine. Complete retards out here. Anyway, let's get into the particulars of what Ohara said, because it's almost like Ohara's been watching the YB. But anyway, he says AJ wasn't really there. AJ brought in a sports psychologist before the fight. Now it's interesting, I hadn't really made this link, so shout out to Ohara Davies for making his point. Now, let's do a bit of investigation here. If before the fight AJ was feeling fine, why, like, bringing a sports psychologist, from what I remember, the sports psychologist got brought in like a week or 2 before, wasn't it? It wasn't as if, I remember it in the news, AJ brings in a US Marine. He'd only been in the US for 4 weeks. So it doesn't really add up. Fair enough, if you some people could argue, well, AJ was just adding an element to his game. But if he was adding an element to his game, you make them sort of decisions at the start of camp, i.e., right, we've got a new fight camp, we've got a fight date, let's sort the team out. You don't sort out your sparring partners a week before you need them. Yeah, you don't bring in a sports psychologist if you were planning to do it for a camp. You don't bring him in for the last 2 weeks. You'd bring him in and work with them throughout the camp. Same as you wouldn't bring a sports conditioning coach in 2 weeks before the fight. You'd bring him in at the start of camp. You've got to ask yourself now, what mind frame was AJ in to bring in a US Marine sports psychologist a week or two, I think it was a week, but let's call it 2 weeks, 2 weeks before you fight? Are you in a positive mind? Are you in a sound mind if you're bringing in a psychologist for the first time? Now, fair enough, if AJ's been working with psychologists before and whatnot, it wouldn't be a big deal, but this is the first time, so if someone explain to me why is AJ bringing in a psychologist for the first time 2 weeks before the fight? That tells me there was something going on here, and I reckon what it was. In the fight, AJ said, "What's going on? Why do I feel like this?" And I reckon he got concussed or hurt or whatever, and then going forward, he couldn't work out. No one had explained concussion to him. No one broke it down to him. He didn't understand it. Maybe he's never been concussed before, or maybe it was quite a severe concussion. By actually looking at his performance, it probably was a severe concussion, to be honest. How bad that performance was. There's different levels to it all. A concussion isn't just a concussion. You have different extents, different amounts of damage. And looking how bad AJ looked in there, anything touched him, he lost orientation, became disorientated. So he was highly likely severely damaged. And on that note, before the fight, in the lead up, he must have been thinking to himself, why is my brain not feeling right? Why do I feel so unconfident? That's what it can do. The same way it can bring on anxiety. Anxiety can be perceived as a form of negativity and lack of confidence. If you're anxious about something, that's part of it is a lack of confidence. So if AJ's feeling really anxious for this Ruiz fight, and he can't understand why am I so scared of Ruiz? Why am I so anxious about this fight coming up? Which also explains why he stayed up till 3 a.m. the night before, watching Ruiz. That's anxiety, that's fear. And that also explains why he brought in a sports psychologist. Whenever he got concussed or whatever, then the anxiety started, then the irrational fear started, things he hasn't normally experienced, yeah? And that's why he made the rash decision to bring a sports psychologist in, because he started thinking, what's going on here? Why have I got this lack of confidence? Maybe my psychology is damaged. He didn't realise he actually had a TBI. Now this is all speculation, but Ohara Davies has said there, why is AJ bringing a dude in for the first time? That's not AJ. He is confident. He's never had an issue with that stuff before. And that's what tells me it was a particular event which set it off. There is pure causation, evidence and research out there. Concussions cause anxiety and other negative ailments to do with psychology. It messes it all up. Panic attacks, anxiety, etc., etc. Fear, irrational fear, and all them sort of things there. You can do the research yourselves. It's there. I've looked at it myself. Fact. So that's another nugget which Ohara Davies dropped, which I think adds more to this theory we've got. I'm not even going to call it a conspiracy theory. It's just a theory at this point. There's no conspiracy. In fact, it's a fact at this point. Yeah? Next thing he says anyway. So he says something was wrong. The ring entrance was late. I truly believe there was something going on. And then Coogan, the matchroom and the party line mouthpiece, steps in and says, "Oh well, Eddie Hearn said it was the what was it? The guard, or I forgot what it's called, the protector, the groin protector." And Ohara mugs him off and slays him and says, "Listen, Eddie Hearn can tell a lie. Eddie Hearn has to protect." And this is the part that made me think he's been listening to the YB, because he said Eddie Hearn has to say that, otherwise the board will be banning him. Now, I haven't heard no one else saying that. Maybe they have. I don't watch every channel, but I haven't heard no one else talking about how Eddie Hearn has to be silent, otherwise he'll lose his license. But anyway, it's irrelevant. The bottom line is, why was his ring entrance late? And this is my problem with the media, people like Coogan. There is no depth to their interviews. They never really ask any follow-up questions. They don't have much IQ or brains to think, let me follow up. As an example, when Eddie Hearn fobbed Coogan off with, it was was the groin guard, why couldn't Coogan have followed up and said, wait there a minute, why would it have taken until the minute you walk out to notice that your groin guard is dodgy. Bearing in mind, AJ would have had to have warmed up in it for 45 minutes. So you're telling me he warmed up with the groin guard on for 45 minutes? Because you have to get dressed and put your shorts on first, then you warm up. So you're telling me he warmed up in it, stood in it, sat in it, then walked up to the ring walkout, and then decided, oh, well, an hour later, yeah, I want to change this. I don't think so, buddy. I really don't. And besides, like Ohara said, AJ's prepared. He has many of them sitting by. And this is what I'm trying to tell you. A groin guard isn't a real technical piece of kit. It's pretty standard. You fight in the same brand, same one, day in, day out for years. Literally day in, day out. I don't understand what you mean you need to change it. Don't make no sense to me, at all. Certainly not just as you're about to walk out. What makes more sense is that a panic attack, when you have building anxiety, ask yourself this question. When would anxiety peak in that situation? Would it peak in the dressing room, or would it peak as you're about to walk out? Oh, what a surprise, another coincidence. Just as AJ is about to walk out, where the likely peak anxiety would be, you're not going to have peak anxiety when you're sitting in your changing room. You're going to have peak anxiety just before you walk out. So it's just pure coincidence that as he's meant to walk out, as there's peak anxiety, that's when he suddenly needs to change his groin guard. Yeah, that's very coincident. There's a great coincidence there. Nah, don't believe it. Don't believe in coincidence in this example. Not at all. Yeah? Anyway. And this isn't me. I'm just echoing and giving some more flesh to what Ohara Davies is saying anyway. This is the great thing about it. He's a professional fighter who's been inside AJ's camp, and he's saying these things. Or don't tell me though. Just another guy who's making it up, another AJ protector. Classic stuff. You lot are the ones that are into conspiracy. In fact, in my opinion, you lot are actually I reckon you lot are part of the Matchroom. I reckon you lot. People say YB's being paid by Matchroom. No, you lot are being paid by Matchroom to make sure this don't get out. You lot are on the payroll coming out. At this point, that's what it comes down to. Anyone who sits there and says, "Oh, you lot are conspiracy theorists. This didn't happen. AJ was 100% fine." People coming in my comment section saying, "Oh, YB, you need to listen to AJ. You need to listen to Eddie Hearn. They're telling you he was fine." Okay then. I thought, and these are the same dons, you know, who will come on and say, Eddie Hearn, la! Eddie Hearn, la! He never sent an offer. He never sent an offer. They're the same ones there, you know. Them same dons. Pick and choose when Eddie Hearn's lying or not. Anyway. Next thing, listen, I told you before, this Ohara Davies, he was dropping gems. And what I love about this is, he's an insider. He's been part of AJ's team before. When he used to train with Tony Sims. Fact. At the Matchroom gym. Fact. He'd be there. So he knows. And he said himself, AJ's a prepared guy. He doesn't, it's not it's not something you forget or you change. And he says, I truly believe something went on. Why does a professional boxer have that belief for? If it's BS. All of you couch dudes who've never put a pair of gloves on in your life, I'm pretty sure. But you guys know better than a guy who's trained with AJ before. How interesting is that? Then he says, something happened backstage. Why was AJ's dad going mad at Eddie Hearn? Bang, another great question. And this is my problem with Kugan Cassius again. There's no follow-up questions. He asked what happened with AJ's dad, yeah? And Eddie Hearn said, AJ's dad was going at everyone. I just so happened to get caught on camera. I'd have been asking, why was he going at you for anyway then? If there's no issue, why would you... Oh, he was angry at some arrangements in the house. Come on, you're a promoter. Explain to... These questions weren't asked by Kugan or anyone in the media. Explain to us why AJ's dad was going mad and swearing at you over some things that happened in a house in the camp. Come on, let's call a spade here. AJ's dad's very reserved, as is AJ. There's no way a man starts swearing over some camp house details to the promoter. If that was the issue, he'd be taking it out on AJ's manager. The promoter is a very particular individual who handles an event. Who would have been pushing the event if AJ was ill? Eddie Hearn, aka why the dad was going at Eddie. Yeah? There's no pictures of the dad going at the referee. There's no pictures of the dad going at anyone else. And they brought in... What's his name? They brought in Frank Smith, I think it is. Is it Frank Smith? Either way, Eddie's underling, the CEO of Matchroom, they brought him in to say, oh yeah, he was going mad at me as well. I thought, no, he wasn't. There was no pictures of him going mad at you. Oh, well, yeah, that's because they only caught me on camera. No, how the newspapers work is, if AJ's dad was going at everyone, they would have got pictures of everyone. He only was going for you, that's it. Because you was the one that was pushing it. Anyway. And this isn't me even saying this. Ohara Davies has said, Eddie Hearn got to cover it up. He's got to, because of the board. What more can we say? He's an insider. He's an insider. And then he says, anyone who knows boxing, everyone who knows boxing knows it wasn't AJ. He looked scared, he looked afraid, and he looked weak. That's not the AJ I or we know.
It just wasn't him. Even in the fight, it just wasn't him. Like, as I'm looking at how he fought the fight, how he was fighting, it wasn't him. He looked scared, afraid. He looked weak, and that's not the AJ that we all know. And
bang, another great piece of evidence, in my opinion. What more can we say? Let's put all the speculation to one side now. The performance. I had some goon in my comment section the other day telling me about, oh yes, no one's been able to show me how AJ fought any different. This is the problem when you've got complete casuals who have literally never watched an AJ fight before. It's impossible. If you've ever watched an AJ fight, you don't even have to watch the whole fight. Watch it for 2 rounds. That's it. Watch the first 2 rounds of any AJ fight, and you show me how it's the same as the first 2 rounds of the Ruiz fight. I've never seen, I can promise you now, in my notes I wrote down, wow, AJ's really using his feet now. He looks like, he reminds me of Tyson Fury, with no jab. That's what it looked like to me. It looked like Tyson Fury with no jab. Running backwards, and just running for the sake of running. And I thought initially it might be a positive, thinking he was going to just try and show some more skills off, but it turned out that it was a complete shocker. I've never seen AJ looking to back up. Never, ever, 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 ever. Equally, what other coincidences can we link in here? Equally, I've never ever heard of AJ having to delay a walkout. Also, I've never ever heard about AJ having to bring in a psychologist 2 weeks before he fights. Is that normal, bringing in a psychologist 2 weeks before? Someone explain that to me. It's a great point. What's that about? Especially when you add in all these other factors now. It's not just you just coincidentally brought in a psychologist for the first time ever. Come on, man. The dude had a brain injury, and unfortunately, his absolutely incompetent team overlooked it. And AJ was left there, staying up until 3 a.m., stressing himself out, not understanding why he was feeling so bad. Hence, why he stayed up till 3 a.m., trying to find some confidence in watching Ruiz, trying to calm his anxieties by watching Ruiz. Essentially, exam cramming the night before, trying to find some confidence, trying to find some security, bringing in a sports psychologist in a rushed way. That was all because he had a brain injury and he didn't understand why he felt like that. Just like the same way in the corner when he said, why do I feel like this? Now, I don't believe that was just on that night he was talking about. I believe it was the whole lot. Why have I been feeling like this? The whole time. Bottom line, bang. He weren't right, and everything I've said in this video, if you got a problem, take it up with Ohara Davies, a former AJ teammate. Fact. Don't come to the YB, all I've done is echoed what is said, and add some more flesh and bones to it. I'll be intrigued to see what you guys think.